Hey everyone, welcome to the second installment in my PLA tutorial series in which I do PB breakdowns. This is the 80% All Lords episode, both smooshed together because that's also how my notes are. For every set of notes I will make a video, even if things overlap very heavily and it means it's gonna be shortened. Just click on the previously released video, it's just gonna be linked in the description to find everything that I have glossed over just because I've already mentioned it. In this case, we only have Kleavor that I've already covered, so pretty much all Fieldlands is gonna be skipped. I'm just gonna go into the differences from Kleavor, which of course, because you actually do research more than just getting the rank 1, there's gonna be a few things. But let's start with the first difference, and that's actually starting from creating our save file. Male or female, it doesn't really matter, I think. I don't know if there's an actual like timed thing out there telling which one is faster. It's been kind of personal preference so far. The only thing that is absolutely necessary is having a one character name. In my case, I always choose B. So let's get started with the run. There's not gonna be any audio, so just keep that in mind. If you wanna have this with audio, just go watch it on the actual PB video that I have linked below. Otherwise, just enjoy the nice background music from the game itself. So we have a few text boxes, as always, Turbo A, hold B during that to get through that. And now to the cutscene skipping that I've glossed over in my Kleavor video. I'm sorry about that, I have put it into comments. I have forgotten to mention that because there is one cutscene that you can skip, and to skip cutscenes you need to hold plus and X. Just hold the buttons, it's gonna skip it automatically as soon as possible. And in this case, the moment you see skip movie pop up in this corner, that's when you can already, when it just skips it for you. That's the earliest moment. We never knew that you could just hold down the buttons. I just accidentally discovered it in terms of just being able to do it, and it's actually very nice. You don't need to spam anything. So, yeah. Hope that I didn't mess anything up. I accidentally double clicked. Tab in. Yeah. Here we can actually kind of like skip through everything. The options don't matter, just press through and eventually you're gonna be out of this. And now we come to the important part, the settings. You're always gonna be on the save menu when you open this up, so you press CR and then our frame advance, then settings is on the third option. Because there's no survey tabs, you will be on game controls, so you can just go down to settings. And then what I do, what you don't need to do, if you don't like inverted, don't play inverted. I need inverted because of the Mario speedruns that I do. I'm just way too used to it, and the only other options you're going to set is camera sensitivity to 5 and this to disabled. If you've seen the Kleavor video, you'll hear me mention about autosave. Disabling that too, that's just for the starter select save file that you want to have. Just keep it on, because if things go wrong, you can just exit to home menu and just relaunch the game, and you're kind of like back on like the last thing you've done. It does frequent autosaves, like certain interactions with Pokemon, but most commonly it's just warping to a new place, which is going to be your last autosave. So with that, I just quickly said it's easy to mispress something, that's absolutely fine. And now for the first cutscene trigger in this section, kind of like imagine this as a bit of a line here. And I always aim for that for a crouch cancel. VLC effects, kind of like buggy effects of the video will happen throughout this. I'm sorry about that, cannot really change much about it. But yeah, with the phone in hand, we can then advance to the next checkpoint pretty much. Just sprint off this corner here, just keep it tight, keep it simple, reduce your walking distance. And yeah, this is kind of like if you imagine this open area, kind of a circle, extend it a bit here to kind of have a better guess at where to crouch cancel. Kind of like just before it. It's hard to really visualize it for me. It's just experience that helps me on actually getting it. So yeah, more talking of introducing the starters. We're going to go Tentacool, Oshawott, and Rowlet. It just makes the most sense in terms of movement and also with the first trick of the speedrun. Apart from crouch cancelling, of course. So before we get here, there's a little explainer page. I've already mentioned that in Kleavor, just because it's a core menu thing. You need to scroll to the second page. You can either press left D-pad or right D-pad or L or R to scroll to the last page. In this case, if you have 3 pages, always just go to the left to end up on the last page immediately, because your A spam through the turbo button is not going to do anything on this menu for a little bit. But the moment it can do something, you should already be on the last page. So all it does is close this tip section. And then you just run up to Tentacool, just target and throw ball. It's a guaranteed catch. I like to crouch a little bit before here, kind of. So Oshawott doesn't hear me and I can still approach a little bit doing crouching. And then before the catch is complete, it's kind of like a timing thing that I have memorized. I just uncrouch, so I'm already in the idle position when the catch is done. So the cutscene starts again, and because I haven't spooked Oshawott here, I can just target and throw the Pokeball immediately, which I do, and then I immediately run over to Rowlet. Now this is the difficult part. You need to time a Pokeball throw as late as possible, so you don't delay yourself getting into idle mode, and also to just get it out before the cutscene starts. That starts with the successful catch of Oshawott. The thing that we're trying to do here is hope for the fail on the first check. There's 2 checks of catching. I've mentioned that in the Kleavor video too. We're trying to have the first check to fail, which is why you see Rowlet noticing me. And we want Rowlet to actually pay attention to us, to notice us, so we don't get a stealth bonus. And we don't want this backstrike and everything, so this is kind of like best case in terms of to get the catch odds as low as possible, because this is always scripted to break out. So if it's a first check success, it's going to break out immediately. But we want it to have a delayed breakout, which is fail the first check and be on a second check. So we have time to get through the next little bit of talking before Rowlet breaks out. So when we're done with that and we go back to gameplay, that's the moment Rowlet breaks out, and we immediately satisfy the condition of the game that we want Rowlet to have its mandatory breakout, because that is a scripted event. So in this case, I think I didn't get it. Yeah, I had the instant breakout case. So in that case, Rowlet will run around somewhere. Maybe it's behind you. If that's the case, you're not going to be able to target on it. But if it's not the case, just use the target button ZL and just see where it is, throw a Pokeball, and you're good to go. So this is the longer shake that we want to hopefully have while we have that little talking going on. So the breakout is delayed enough for us to be back at this section. So this is unfortunately maximum time loss in this case, but that is essentially how the breakout skip works. So yeah, that is the first part of the game that is relevant. More cutscenes to follow. Nothing too crazy here, just don't run too far away from the professor once you are in the village for the first time. You can even like time a sprint input here. Just don't run too far away. I just like to circle the professor if I get the sprint input. We can just hold forward. I like to stop at this point here, because again, cutscene starts immediately the moment you are when you're already in the idle position. So here I stopped a bit later than I normally do now, but the point is I'm in this idle position. Professor has reached the cutscene trigger, and immediately the cutscene is going to start. So yeah, more tutorial stuff. The only important thing here is the cutscene trigger for this. I like to use this pod as a kind of like visual guide, as a line going out here. You can walk up on this ledge here a little bit, which might slow you down. Just be wary about it. I like to make it like a 90-degree turn here. And you see where the pod is. It's kind of like where the cutscene trigger is. So that is this part, and then we literally just have talking for a few minutes, which I'm going to skip ahead until your timer is roughly at around 9 minutes on the on your splits. So the moment you're going to hear a noise, that's when you can already start moving. It's the noise that pops up from this, as far as I'm concerned. And you just want to kind of like move like forwards, slightly upright, so you can head directly to this door and enter it. And then another little cutscene kind of like showing you the room. I'm not gonna skip ahead because it's very short. The thing I want to show you is there is a kind of mandatory reminder that there's like a tips thing, and that this it's the further back desk. If you run up to it, like kind of like far enough here, sort of like halfway alongside this writer table or whatever it is, you're going to be able to interact with this, and you can combine it with a crouch cancel to immediately speak to it, so you don't get stopped by the game and then like you look back at it. You're immediately going to confront it and get this mandatory kind of like, hey, this game has this list here moment. Yeah, the survey tips. This is a mandatory thing to see, so we just get it out of the way in a more forceful way. It's always going to tell you about saving. We don't need to worry about that. And then we just run up to the bed to rest. And then another cutscene to skip. And we are almost where Kleavor left off, really. That is pretty much everything that has been there so far. Just remember, when you walk out of this room, there's things to interact with. Just don't interact with them yet. You don't want to do that. And then, as in Kleavor already explained, with going in, avoid the slope. And we are at the Kleavor part, so yeah, just cutscenes that force you from one location to the other, and then you got the starter picking, and we do pick a Tentacool here. It's the best choice. So yeah, what you just saw there is the first difference to Kleavor, because we want to have extra Pokeballs, and there's a way to force Pokeballs into our inventory. This box here is the last time we have access to this box in the tutorial part of the entry trial. So what we're going to do is we run up to the box, deposit the Pokeballs with X. You can immediately deposit the whole stack of the item that you have. And then you're trying to crouch cancel. I find it a bit more difficult sometimes to time that. Like if I go back a little bit, I find it easy to slow crouch on it, because this is kind of like the moment where I need to crouch already, and I kind of just missed it. So kind of like aim for like 9-8 sort of, and you should be fine. So yeah, same as usual. I'm just gonna quickly scope out what I got. I did not get as fast Tentacool, so I'll keep that in mind. My Kleavor run did get that, so yeah. There's nothing really different. The only thing that does work here differently is we don't want to move the cam, we just want to straight up just head to a rival. Because when we speak to the rival without Pokeballs, the game's going to assume that we've already wasted all of Pokeballs, and that would softlock us. So as a softlock prevention, we just get 20 Pokeballs here. And this is how we just get 20 Pokeballs for free. This is a very important strat, because we pretty much need all 60 Pokeballs to get through Fieldlands. There's a lot of things to kind of like catch. And then we got our mandatory catches. And yeah, this section with looting the tree, I can show you. I got a good starting spawn for looting the tree before you have to approach your rival here. So, because it's a further back spawn, I just delayed that for a little bit to get the backstrike. I like that a lot, even though I could have probably thrown it a little earlier. but because I was super close to the ball, I immediately switched Pokemon, threw the Pokemon at the tree, and just about got the items from the loot. If the catch of Starly is successful before you get the loot, I'd rather just start with like this little pop-up to the right, the loot will just not exist anymore. The tree will be looted, but you will not have received anything. So just keep that in mind if you are running into a Starly super early in this path. Just don't loot the tree until a bit later. The fruit itself, the orange berries, will be a bit helpful, but there's some other trees you can loot, so it's not too important at this stage of the run. There's not much to really work with, apart from a possible rare Pichu, but that's about it in terms of food requirements that would even need this tree. So yeah, nothing is different in this section. I got a little unlucky, so I'm gonna skip forward. There's nothing to see here, but I'll skip forward visibly. So yeah, let's get to the drafting tutorial. The only difference is we want to actually use things. So don't turbo all the way through with holding A. Make sure to press left, I think. Actually, it's just so muscle memory, I don't know exactly, but if you just go opposite direction, you should land at the maximum value. In terms of going, like if you go down, you should wrap around to the max value. So yeah, that's what you need to do. Just craft all the 20 in the tiniest import possible. But every other principle I've already mentioned in the Kleavor run applies here with the small step and everything. And let's talk about this section before I head on. I've mentioned, and you've probably seen it if you've watched it, I've gotten a heavy Bidoof in the big Kleavor PB. However, it didn't matter there, but now for any percent in any other category, it does matter because it is one of the easiest way to finish Bidoof. So you want to see a task of 7 if you haven't seen a quick attack from Shinx. If you've seen a quick attack from Shinx, or you've somehow caught the Starly unspotted, which there are ways for doing that, it will not be 6 on not getting a heavy Bidoof. So I believe I got a quick attack from Shinx. I don't know right now. I didn't see that. I didn't look at that part of the run. But I assumed that I got a quick attack from Shinx, so that doesn't really matter to me, unfortunately. Got the expected 7. And yeah, just the normal stuff as always we had here. But this time I actually want to loot a bit more instead of just running to the Beautifly, because I want to have a little bit more experience, because the Beautiflies are a bit different for any percent. I don't need to finish Beautifly already. If you have a Shinx on this side that is a bit closer to this patch of grass, feel free to go for it. Otherwise, just pick up this Shinx here. Just make sure to get a backstrike, and then you can pick one up of these. In this case, I threw it so late that I landed before I throw the Pokeball, so the Shinx noticed and turned around. And then this Shinx here back there just fell asleep, and it made it a bit easier to sneak up and get the catch. So there's a few things that you need to look out for. So I'm not gonna go into detail on every like catch or anything. It's just like things to look out for. Pichus, there's 2 spawn slots here. Those can feature Pichu at, I think, at 10%. So if you see something yellow, just give it a feed and a unspotted catch, and you should be good to go with like 50-60 points, depending on if it's a small specimen or not. And that is a good haul of points. And then otherwise just catch everything that you need for research here. For research, I'll go into more specifics. Beautifly principles apply here too. If you can, if you just get away with it, catch both forms. Otherwise, just remember which form you've caught, because that's going to be coming in handy later for the research part in Coastlands, when there's plenty of Beautifly to catch on your story progression. And in this case I caught a male because I caught the one with the longer stripe, and here I just go for a catch because, like, why not? It's a female, might as well try. And I can already switch to Pokemon here if I wanted to just battle it if it broke out. In this case, I just caught it, so I don't need to worry about research on Beautifly anymore for later, which is also a valid strategy to just not need to rely on too much in Fieldlands, to just get out of Fieldlands. 80% you just want to do the minimum bare possible stuff, kind of. And in that case, it's get 1800 research points to reach rank 2. So yeah, we're just gonna do the research strat for Beautifly that levels us up. And then for these cutscenes, we do have catching in between. Now for the catching, I haven't really talked about it yet, but we have this animation of the throw, and we can kind of like interrupt that animation by using a dive. So you see me throw the ball and then immediately dive after when I see the ball fly, to interrupt all the other animations, to be able to just move forward a bit quicker. And that is a way to move around. When you catch Pokemon, wait to get into this cutscene. The moment I hear a breakout or a successful catch, that's when I approach the cutscene. In this case, I just heard the third Bidoof also be a successful catch, so I was able to approach the cutscene. Otherwise, when you enter a cutscene, everything that's going to be caught in the moment, it also works with entering a battle with a Pokemon. It's going to just interrupt the battle, the catching attempt, and just make it fail. So that's an easy way to fail catches that you shouldn't need to fail. Just keep that in mind. It's a very, very easy thing to kind of mess up on. So yeah. And now what I mentioned in Kleavor, you can use this ledge or maybe more this to kind of like fly in. And is that a lag in my video? Could be. But you kind of like fly in. And there we go. Now it's playing out. And get a back strike. This can be unspotted if you manage to do it before landing. Always keep an eye on the tasks here. I didn't get an unspotted notification here, so I know it wasn't unspotted. For tasks that you do, always look at the top left while you're running around doing things. Always keep an eye on what pops up to know what has been successful, what hasn't been successful, to adjust on the fly if you've messed up something that you probably shouldn't have. So yeah, again, more I can demonstrate that with Wurmples if I actually catch one. I think I had just breakouts here. So in this case, I'm sneaking up a bit. This is like a little observation on how to get unspotted. If a Pokemon has seen you and it's like a docile Pokemon like Wurmple, it's going to wait a little bit until it determines that you're not around anymore by just staying hidden long enough. And you can notice it by like the Pokemon turning a bit away from where you are, or like just doing something else that doesn't seem like it's noticing you. So in this case, I didn't wait for this pop-up to appear, but I'm pretty sure I did get an unspotted, which I needed for a little bit of research. And then after you've obtained the crafting table and you've backed out of the Pokedex once that appeared, you can go and do whatever you need to do. In this case, I have a few evos planned for the research that I want to do. Like my notes mention Tentacool, Starly, Shinx. Those are the main evos that we definitely want to do, just because Pokemon evos are in general also useful for the fights. But in this case, my notes also say evo both genders if available. And we have that here with Shinx, so you'll see me evolve the male one and one of the female ones to pretty much be done with Shinx and Luxio without having to worry about it too much. It's a good load of points for a sort of minimal investment of like 18 seconds for the Evo animation. It's a good trade-off. But yeah, I've done everything. I looted a little bit more, and then you see my points here. Thanks to the Beautifly finish already. I have that finished, and like this is also the next part that you need to worry about. You see me scroll through. we generally like to use replay buffer on OBS to have to scroll through and then be able to look at the tasks that are completed, which pop up pretty shortly. Like you see, I switched to this, and pretty much almost every frame is a new thing. Like here you see I got a heavy Bidoof, so that's fantastic. I got both forms, which is fantastic, so I just need to catch 2 more and evolve if I want to finish that. So barely needs any work anymore, and so on. Like, of course it skipped ahead a little bit there, but this is a part that we like to use a replay buffer for, to just scroll through the research, and then while cutscenes are going on, we can care about that. And yes, I also did it in the Beat Kleavor video with running to the exit instead of the professor on that specific moment to skip that little tutorial box. It's mentioned on the notes as a little reminder, and that is the first page of the notes. Now it's very similar, although we will always use Kleavor here. This is why I also looted a tree. I saw it was 3 XP away from level 18. If it's not level 18, just use Strong Ember. It's not always guaranteed to kill, so you might have a little bit of a struggle moment against Pikachu. It might Thunder Wave you or whatever. You should always outspeed it. It shouldn't be a worry. But at level 18 we unlock Flame Wheel, and that is a guaranteed kill on this Pikachu. So yeah, we just continue on. More catches along the way. I like this spot as my unspotted starty spot. You see these, this is on Pokemon that like to flee. This is the best, or try to attack you. They have these ... things above them to indicate that they've noticed you. And if they see you more, that's going to determine their next action. And these are perfect indicators to see have they stopped noticing you. So these 2 starlies, if I were to catch them now, and they don't notice each other's catch, these would be unspotted catches. So I throw this Pokeball. You see this starly, these 2 starlies have not noticed that I just threw a Pokeball at this starly. And also at the same time, look at what popped up here. 3 heavy Bidoof. That means I caught 2 more, and I have 3 heavy, and I've just finished Bidoof as an entry. We just need 10 levels of research. There's double point tasks, which give you 2 levels, and normal point tasks, which give you 1 level. Times 10 to determine the research points. And then if you finish, you get a point bonus of 100, which is why that's so important. So in this case, you saw the last starly started to have ... again. That is that starly noticing that you've just caught the starly behind it. And depending on what goes in, second success, the third broke out, but you will see unspotted catch pop up. And somehow the other one wasn't unspotted, but it doesn't matter in the case of starly if you get both forms. So you don't need to worry too much about it. And that Shinx that we just ran by, if you struggled with Shinx catches and you want to have 1 more for your research, just grab that, but just make sure to not be seen as it's an aggressive Pokemon. So yeah, same principles apply, but this time we have Luxio as our fighter. So we have the main strat of Bite Bite Thunderfang. We do Bite Bite Thunderfang because Thunderfang has a chance to do paralysis, and we want that to be the finishing kill move. There's strats with like Bite 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 if you have enough levels or attack stat. If you want to go down that path, but I personally always use Bite Bite Thunderfang. I just like it the most. So yeah, more story stuff, and then we run into the Kricketots. The first one just always catch. Just don't worry about it. Just throw a Pokeball in it. If it breaks out, it breaks out. There's no more Kricketots to catch later on. The important ones are here with the feeding. I'm not gonna go too much into detail with research. There's going to be like tutorials on research things coming up as a joint project with Hakuri and me. Hopefully we're actually going to do it, and I'm not gonna say empty words here. But that is definitely my next area to work on after I've gone through all my notes. So yeah, this is just the section of a bit of research. It's essentially the same movement as Kleavor, so there's not too much to worry about, apart from we do catch a few Pokemon along the side. And if you do crouch rolls, these Pokemon only look at the location you land in, so they only follow the last landing position. That's the only point a crouch roll will make noise. So you see them being a bit unaware of your existence, despite me doing plenty of things around them. And I pick up ores along the way for resources that I need later to craft Pokeballs. And in this case, I got lucky. If it's sparkling like that, that means there's a Stardust in there. That's 1,000 dollars or whatever that is, a currency. So yeah, I just go along, make a few catches, get some stuff for research done. And yeah, use that crouch roll thing again. And yeah, on to Kricketune. In this case, I do quick attack into Area Ace, because Area Ace is research on Staravia, and we just need to soften up Kricketune without killing it and without having it giving it a second attack. Especially if it has outsped us. It's very close between Staravia on this level and Kricketune as the alpha on that level. So Staravia might sometimes outspeed, in this case just quick attack, and then Kricketune is gonna attack. Or it's going to attack first, and then with quick attack you gain a turn. So yeah, in this case you see Area Ace goes first, and then when I go to quick attack, you see I gain a turn, I get to attack again. And it should usually kill. If it doesn't kill, as long as you got the Area Ace out, you're good to go. That's a research task for Staravia that makes me finish it a bit easier, so that's why I prefer it. And that is that part. That is request from my... And again, a bit of a research update. You saw, because I didn't catch that one Kricketune, I'm just one catch away from finishing that. Didn't get any heavy Geodudes and stuff like that. Like, there's so much info to gain from these, which is why you should always take your time to just have one scroll through and then use your replay buffer to look at what you done, what needs to be done to adjust your run from there. So yeah, a little bit of a report on research, the points, and then when you wake up again on this point, it is mentioned in a little nice pink with the pick up balls after waking up. We just want to interact with this box, which is on our way anyway. Go over to the item box and just press X on the Pokeballs to deposit them all into our satchel. And then from here on out, it is essentially the same as a big Kleavor run. So big old skip. And then we get back to the Heights Camp, which is now unlocked as a warp destination. And we actually speak to this guy and actually organize a Pokemon party, which is just a research thing. In this case, I deposit my Bidoof because I'm done with Bidoof. I don't need to do anything with it. If I can catch a barrel on the path, that's cool. But I don't need to evolve it or anything. That's all kind of like done. It doesn't really gain me as much as it could have if I didn't finish it with the free heavy. So here I just pick up the Wumples to evolve it later for research. My Staravia, I don't need to deal with it anymore, for example. So just deposit that, and then on the way I do a bit of research. I'm missing a Stardy catch or two, such as for Pokeballs here before I do the normal pathing that you've seen in the big Kleavor video. Just mainly to loot these ores, not just to gain experience or anything, just to get the loot here. And then in this case also, like if you drop down, this Paras is going to notice you on landing, but if you crouch immediately it shouldn't attack you. It's a very vicious Pokemon and kind of fear a little bit. And this is the first deviation that I do compared to what you normally see. In this case, I want a fire kill on the Paras for research, and I also need a little bit of research for the Quilava itself. Sometimes, especially if I have fast Quilava, I tend to not get the research in. So here I just use Strong Ember, so I can get a bit more research going on and to get that going, and then more research here with kills. This is completely just whatever research you do, that is up to you. just kind of like showing off this example here, just to kind of like get this part of the tutorial going, to see like to show you like what kind of gameplay could look like. But don't worry too much about the research here. My research notes will mention some stuff that I do. Whatever you do is up to you. You might be able to take my base. If you want to really look into the research here, just go watch my PB in full length. And yeah, otherwise I'm going to focus a lot on movement from now on. And yeah, it's pretty much essentially the same as Kleavor, apart from going a bit out of the way for some Pokemon like the Beni here, which are guaranteed, or like trying to feed stuff here, or maybe like the Combi kill, and then before the Lilligant fight or after, depending on what you want to do. I evolve the Wurmples. The only important thing is we get the research recorded in before, and you just follow the strats that I mentioned on the notes for the fights. Agile quick attack here is very important because we just need a way to outspeed the Gumi enough so it doesn't do more than just one attack. And then we just bite and we're good to go. Or strong quick attack if you really need that, or in this case I have mastered a bite as a move, so I have strong available if I really need that. But depending on what you need for research or for damage, you need to make your own variations on that. There's a lot of thinking on your own required for the speedrun, which is a very high entry barrier in my opinion. But that is also why this speedrun is so cool. So yeah, after this fight, we report research. We're entering that cutscene and checking that. And the best thing that you can have is a rank up now. In this case, you're pretty much good to go. You should kind of like ignore everything else in Fieldlands at this point, unless you want to grab a bit more research. It doesn't matter too much in any percent, but any other category in which you need distortions, 1800 and you leave ASAP. You don't do anything else, because you want to spend all your possible time pretty much on any kind of like research and stuff like that, just to get ranks up. On the distortion timer, waiting for a distortion to happen. But yeah, after you warped here, you're right next to Silene's room. So when you get dropped out of the cutscene, you just walk to Silene directly to get the rank up. It's the shortest path to rank up in this case too, so it's actually a time save to have an early rank up, which is why I'm always happy about it. And then with Wyrdeer, it's essentially the same as Kleavor, especially if you don't need research anymore. Otherwise you might go a little bit left and right here and there to get the research up to what you need to leave. So yeah, there's nothing crazy going on, it's just the same shenanigans. But yeah, and now after the fight, once you've walked back, I personally like to use Paras for getting for the Pokemon that I have in my party to continue on in Mirelands. In this case, there is also a little technique that I like for depositing Pokemon, where I grab the right amount that still fits into the box and then I go to this overall view, because then the shape of the Pokemon grab doesn't matter anymore. It's just gonna fill out the box in the row as it is. So that's the best way to deposit Pokemon for me, which is the only thing that was important to mention here. And then yeah, we have a little mandatory cutscene here. We warp and then complete the mission, because we already ranked up, we don't need to rank up anymore. And then we have this little fourth segment that starts us here. If we have a Cascoon to evolve, which helps us for research in the case of having two Cascoon, and then another Evo would finish it. We do it here because it's at night and it helps the Dustox research, because that needs night catches. And in that case we would do the party management now with the pasture access to the right here. Like, I'll just wait a little bit. we could do the Evo now and then speak to this lady to get the pasture access to manage pastures. It's an extra text box that's going to pop up to explain you a little bit, but that is the only downside of that. The upside is you have a little bit more research. We pick up the wisp. We can actually stand in front of the tree and pick the wisp up through the tree. It's the fastest way to do it. In this case I didn't do it, I just walked around. Probably didn't know of it at that point, because this is from late 2024. So yeah, that is the mandatory part, and now we get to the most exciting part, and that is the Ginter shop. On my notes, you will see that on the right there's a list of Ginter items. That is the only list of items that is interesting for the run, that can be obtained at this moment or at a later moment. And in this case, I get a Hope Berry set. The other sets don't really matter. If you're buying a set, if it doesn't overlap with what you want to buy anyway, you're limited to just that one set. So if you get a Pokeball set, you can get another set. If you get a Hope Berry set, you could get another set if you get one. In this case, because I get a Hope Berry set at literally the price of 5 Hope Berries, I get the double amount. It's a big save for me in terms of money, and I don't need to buy Hope Berries anymore. I just buy the other stuff that I need, which is the bugworts. Even though in this case, because I saw I had this money, I should be good on Pokeballs and stuff and on other resources. I just made it a decision to invest a shit ton more in bugworts to have enough stealth sprays for later, because with Hope Berries and bugworts you craft the stealth sprays. The recipe will be given to you in a moment, pretty much. So that's pretty much that. I had this amount of Stardust to sell, so I was able to do that. And I was very comfortable with my berry amount, so I didn't worry about that. And yeah, we've followed the storyline. In this case, once we are up here, we actually just get warped down to Lilligant, which is fantastic. We don't need to do movement anymore. And then we would just warp to the front gate after that is done, which immediately starts the rival fight. And because we have picked a weak Paris, we just want to lose this. And if we don't get killed immediately, we have the chance to do some absorbs, which ends up being a bit of research. It's kind of like why Paris is a decent option. And yeah, eventually it's gonna do Sand Headbutt, which always kills if it hits. And we get into Mirelands. I've already obtained the Stealth Spray recipe, so we just go over as your first action to the crafting table and craft the Stealth Sprays that we want. Just get the maximum crafted. Then we craft all the heavy balls. I like to craft some revives because we tend to pick up the resources for that automatically just through normal gameplay, like catching Psyduck, for example. In this case, I was kind of okay with my Pokeball amount, so I didn't consider like crafting some. A thing you can do is buy them, which is probably better because you don't want to waste apricorns on Pokeballs, and the price is totally okay for them. And essentially, because I had almost 20 balls, I just decided to buy 20 instead of 30, like my notes say. It's another deviation just based on experience and what I think is necessary. I just checked my stun amount here because that's going to come in handy for some research later. And as you can see, I just jump over the river on the side to spend as long as possible, and it's kind of like a mostly straight line movement. And we just run into this to have the Volo fight, and Togepi just wants to kill us eventually. You might get a Calm Mind, and that means you get an Absorb off, which is cool. And from here now, because we just have Paris in our party, that's pretty much the extent of our party management. The things that I want here are a Psyduck and Arcanine for fights. We can combine that with a little bit of research. In this case, I already did some research in Psyduck. For Arcanine, we want to stun it for some research, which also helps to get the catch rate a little bit up, which is fantastic. In terms of stunning Pokemon, I hope I can mention that in the tutorial for each Pokemon in terms of research and stuff. There's a different amount of stuns that is needed based on the species of the Pokemon and the level of the Pokemon. In this case, these Arcanine just take 2 spoils to be stunned, or a stun value of 2, because in a way, Mud Ball is twice as effective as a Spoiled Apricorn, and a Sticky Gob tends to be 3 times as effective as a Spoiled Apricorn. So that's kind of like what I refer to when I talk about stun amount. It's going to be coming in handy later, which is in my notes for Highlands, to kind of like help on decision making which of the Pokemon with stuns I want to catch, based on how many stuns I have available. So yeah, just grab a few Pokemon here. There's just research and everything. And then there's a good amount of resources here, especially the leaf piles to get stun items. That is the focus here. So for jumping up, I like to kind of imagine this as a little ledge here you can stand on, and then just kind of like work your way up with jumps towards this kind of like side here, which makes it easy to walk up. And then when you jump sort of this direction here, you can dismount to land on top. Sometimes you want to dismount to climb the thing a bit better, because Wyrdeer's hitbox is a bit bigger, and when we dismount, we're actually going to be dismounted a little bit higher than where Wyrdeer's position is, so we can kind of like get over a little bit of a gap sometimes. That's gonna come in handy later too. So here I just pick up some leaf piles to hopefully get some stuff. This is a Razz Berry tree, but in this case it's shaking, so I ignore it. There's a Pokemon inside. But the Razz Berry itself is a, once you fed it to a Pokemon, it is a catch boost. So I think it's 1.3 times boost or something like that, which makes it easier to catch Pokemon that might be a bit difficult to catch. So it's a good food to throw to a Pokemon, although the best catch modifier is when it's actively eating a cake. So that's why if you look at my research notes, you'll see that there's certain flavors specified, like honey or grain, and all these have cake representations, and that's why these are noted there, so you can make sure to use the best cake for each Pokemon. You could have had mushroom cakes here already, which would have been helpful on something like Paris, for example, or maybe even Carnivine. I don't have it in my mind right now. I don't have it open right now, but if you want to look at it yourself, it is linked on the first page of my notes in that here button with a list of research that makes sense, can be found here. That's where the research is linked, and that's why I don't have it in the route notes mentioned specifically. Unless it's like something super mandatory, then I have something mentioned. So yeah, in this case, if you have 2 Psyduck, you're free to go just with your strongest Psyduck. This Toxicroak with Venoshock can kill, especially when it crits, or if you have bad defenses, or bad level or bad HP. But usually you should be fine to get through this, and then if you have bad speed, then if you look at, because you're starting with Bubble, first of all, Venoshock. I'm off Frame Advance here. So when you go on Bubble, Bubble is a move that slows the enemy down. So if you see Psyduck already gaining a turn, if you are on Bubble, you know that you're going to outspeed it when you go onto Agile Confusion to get a Agile Confusion combo. If your damage is slightly not satisfactory enough, if you think your damage is a bit too low for what you should have, like say it stops at around here, feel free to do strong to be safe, but if it's like pretty much half, just go normal and you should always get the kill here. Not only is this a fast way to kill Toxicroak, but also a psychic kill is good for the research on Toxicroak for later, when we actually go and catch it. So yeah, after we've done that, there's 2 options that could be possible. My personal favorite is just walking to the ruins to deliver what we've just retrieved, and Along the way you can find Pichus. In this case there's just Pikachu, which doesn't matter too much. I could have given it a catch attempt just to get 20 points, but I didn't feel like it, and in this case I'm going back to Countermine to re-attempt it. It's the only time you can really re-attempt a catch in this case, and normally you'd be way out to the left because there's a bridge over here that you can go across to kind of like walk this path and go up the edge here into the ruins. But because of Countermine I did an extra path, and I happened to stumble across this Countermine better. Otherwise, if you go this path, you die and kind of don't end up here unless you go a little bit extra path to try to get this stunt and catch. But you will run across this Countermine later anyway in the second part of Mirelands, so it's not too important. So I just threw a Pokeball. I think I do catch it. No, I didn't. Okay, it broke out. But other than that, just go to the quest points, and then once that is done, warp back. And I tend to walk a bit too far here. You want to aim to where this tree is. And kind of like follow this for a smooth climb. You might need to jump. That's absolutely fine. And then this is a Hopo Berry tree. If you want more Hopo Berries, get this tree. It's shaking, so again I cannot loot it. And there's just a few resources, few Pokemon to catch to do some research on. I probably didn't do it as optimally as possible, but that's fine. In terms of movement, it's pretty much predetermined by what kind of research you want to do. So if you're doing a similar research to what I do, you want to follow this path, you can kind of like just jump up here and then with a dismount get the second part done. And once I'm up here, I want to stealth spray up so I can get unspotted catches on these Kricketune. They are way above level cap, but for some reason I find it not too hard to catch them. So that's fantastic. And what I do here is you see the gender of these Pokemon, and I like to talk out loud what gender I just saw until I know that I've caught both genders, to kind of like just remind myself, hey, this is this, because both forms is a task in this for this Pokemon, so that's something to keep in mind. Just talk out loud and just mention it so you can, you know, make sure that you do that. And then for this section, not research specific but just catch specific, if you catch a Pokemon of these Teddiursa, it might anger them. Any activity that involves in them knowing that your presence is there can anger them, so you might struggle to catch them, because this is kind of like a horde mentality kind of thing, that when one gets angry, everyone else gets angry. In this case, this Ursaring runs over to where this Teddiursa was caught, because it's noticed that, and as I'm quick enough I can still catch this, otherwise things would get mad quite quickly. So yeah, that could happen. And yeah, here's a deviation you can do. You can kind of like, you continue to get Kricketune if you're not done here. If you go this path, you can go Pachirisu, or if you go to the left, you can go to Krogangs. It really depends on what kind of research you want to do. For Pachirisu specifically, in any percent, avoid it if you don't have cakes and or great balls, because it's really not that good. So just avoid that. And then here with the Krogangs, you can do a few catches, you can do a psychic kill and stuff like that. Just don't spend too much going around. It's hard to hit when they're in the water because the water obstructs the hitbox quite a lot. Just try to keep it a bit of a straight line, and then you can kind of jump over here. You can kind of aim for this if you want. The safer option is just go for here, but you can safely land here. It shouldn't be too much of a problem. And just drive by a lot of things and more research. Like the second stealth stray section here with feeding these. Another important thing to note is when you throw a berry to them and you don't look at them, like this hippopotamus, once it starts eating, it's going to be facing away from you, because it's going to run towards the berry, but overshoot because it's not on screen. And then it's going to turn around to the berry to eat. And that's a very, very easy way to get a backstrike through a feed when it's heading your way. Just keep that in mind to look away. And I did it to this other one too, because I just turned around again. Just keep in mind, stay hidden, because it's going to see you even if it's off cam. So just keep that in mind, just walk along. And again, this is a horde mentality situation, so the rest of them might get angry. Don't worry too much about it. You can back this up in Highlands because there's more spawns of hippopotas. But in this case, I didn't need to worry about it. Got 3 catches. And I can continue. In this case, Ursaluna is very simple to defeat if you have Carnivine and Psyduck. Because with Carnivine, you want to do Strong Acid Spray to guarantee this defensive stats lowering. Because defenses matter so much in this game. This Pokemon is super bulky. It makes it wildly easier to defeat. And yeah, sometimes you get a second turn. Maybe you get lucky to get another drop, and that resets the counter on when this is going to disappear, this debuff. And otherwise, you just pick a Psyduck, use Bubble into Water Pulse if you can gain a turn with Bubble. Agile Bubble, that is. If not, just pray, I guess. Just like Strong Water Pulse or so. Usually you should not need Strong Water Pulse, but it's easy to do for safety. In this case, because it's less than half HP, I can do a Water Pulse, and that should be a kill, as you can see. And yeah, once you've done this part, that is the first part of Mirelands done. You can just walk back, report research, and that also unlocks the unknown. And just walk to the quest points, really, where you need to go. And once you're back in Mirelands, you have this next section. You can stealth up here already for the Badu, which I do here. And this stealth spray is going to be carried through to pretty much the next cutscene trigger. So you need to be slightly quick and slightly efficient on what you do. In this case, I just throw a run of berries around me. And I know this is gonna be a little bit of a walk, but because you're stealthed up, you can actually be on Wyrdeer and everything. They're not gonna hear you. As long as they don't see you, you should be getting away with everything you do. So this is a nice way to go around. In this case here, that's a Carnivine option there. And then coming up, I'll just sit through this. I don't think I have stun items at this point. This is another Hopeberry tree. So if you are unlucky that it's shaking, there's another Hopeberry tree gone. So at this point, the set that I got absolutely was worth it because I just got unlucky on these trees. It can happen, just don't worry too much about it. For climbing up, the best spot is actually to the right here, which is something I haven't really figured out at that point. I figured it out in 2025. So if we go a little bit back to this moment, I can probably show it. Like, you want to aim to this section here, because this is the easiest to jump up on. You just do a jump and then another one, maybe with a dismount, and then you are up very easily. And then these Tangela, these are docile, unless you anger them. So they can easily spot you and then just not eat. If you have troubles getting them to eat, that is why. And also with all these trees and like ledges around, the pathfinding might fail sometimes. So just don't be too discouraged. You should try to get 3 feet in this case I did. So it's not too bad. In this case, I just got a little bit unlucky on the unspotted. And actually also on the catching too, so that is a bit unlucky, but that's okay. It can happen. Don't worry too much about it with Tangela, especially with 3 feet, free catch. You should still be able to finish it from then on out. Because especially with Tangela, it shouldn't be too much to do when you get to use ancient power in the fight. Because with the food in and free catches, There's gonna be 7 research levels, and a defeat plus ancient power, that's already at 100 points, so you get the bonus. That's all you need for that, so free catch, free feed in that case would have been alright. Just keep these things in mind in terms of what you can mess up without repercussions, and just keep in mind that some things might get mandatory later on, just to make up for what has happened. So the next climb section, I like to look at this, like left side of the tree to climb up like that. Always kind of like left side corner. In this case, you need to dismount to get up. Again, mandatory dismount, and then Kricketune, Kricketode, backup options here, and loot and stuff. And the only important thing that you need to do here, which is also mentioned in bold letters, is the settlement warp. You don't need it for all lords, but it's going to come in handy for any percent and any other category. And to know that you've gotten the warp is you need to see Diamond Settlement pop up. So the moment you visit a location with a warp, that's going to unlock the warp itself. So just wait until you see that, and then you can continue with all kinds of research. So yeah, nothing too crazy. Leaf piles on the way here. Just follow kind of like the track of the leaf piles and you'll be fine. And then next up, Lilligant. This is the next noble. And for this, we just need to make sure to not get hit. There's some faster strats, but this is kind of like the noob-ish way, if you want to really call it that. I think it's still good enough. Just dodge the moment you you would get hit. Just dodge to avoid that, but also make sure to get a fraud just before dodging, because Lilligant is not gonna move very much at that point. It's gonna get to a certain location, and it's very easy to hit that, and it's kind of like my main strategy of hitting in this case, until it's gonna do the charge thingies. So as you can see, I timed that. And then when it does the charges, I like to do 3 throws, or 3 or 4, and then dive over. And just continue hitting. And then when we do this up throwing thing, it's just to have these bombs in the air already. And the moment it's starting to get hit, it's hittable again after the cry, or shroud, or whatever it is. These things that we've thrown during that, when they hit, they're going to count. So you see this HP bar go down massively in that short moment. That's because of all these multiple hits coming in. That is kind of like a main strategy to follow. In this case, do a few until the ring comes. And yeah, just finish the fight. And for leaving this area, what we want to do is, I personally like to pick up Geodude. It is not only good if you have like a setup in which you can evolve Geodudes to finish Geodude and Graveler, because it's heavy Geodudes. But it's also, if you somehow don't get killed first turn, you can get a rollout out, which is also research. But we just try to get Ice Beamed by Glaceon later, so that's why we pick up a Geodude to leave this area and have the party all sorted. Just rank up, finish mission, the usual stuff. We have a little cutscene here, and then we warp back to Galaxy Hall, and we get some more sets. In this case, every set is fantastic. Bean Cakes is one of the strongest cakes in the game. Most Pokemon absolutely love the cake flavor, and it's one of the 2 cake flavors that are needed to are the ones that Dusclops likes, which is the mandatory catch in Coastlands to advance the mission and the storyline. So in this case, I do just cash in, and it's gonna boot us out the moment I'm done shopping. So because I got so many stealth sprays earlier, I don't need to buy any stealth spray stuff. And I feel like I'm comfortable with the amount of berries that I have, especially now that I've gotten cakes, which are a substitute for berries. So all I do now is I buy the resources that I need, Usually it's like 20 to 30 iron chunks that all you really need to craft everything that you need, because you've not used your apricots and or tumblestones too much, apart from the ones that you've used for your heavy balls earlier. And this is your crafting section. And always when you're in this crafting section, if you press ZR, you see this menu. This is your actual item box. You can access from the crafting table, so this is the fastest way to access that and sort that out. And you see, in terms of inventory management, what I've already done is I've kept in the ferns, and everything else that I don't really need I've deposited, because it's just using up space that you don't need. So I didn't max out on stealth sprays, so that's why I went back, but that's all I really need here. Just always keep in mind, don't have anything useless in your inventory when you have the chance to sort it out, which is essentially every time you enter an area. In this case, because we get these, I tend to sometimes sell them to then buy Pokeballs if I want to. It's a very nice strategy to just get some more money in, because these are mandatory items that, as you can see, 2,200 is a solid amount that you just get for free, and that's literally 20 Pokeballs, so just cash in if you really need to. And yeah, in this case, around 60 balls is always like a recommended amount, 50 to 60 balls, and you should be able to get through this area quite well. But yeah, let's enter the fight, and what should happen is essentially just this. Glacian's gonna use Ice Beam, and Geodude dies. Pretty much all mandatory fights, we don't need to win, if it's not story relevant to win, because these are just friendly matches. And yeah, just leave piles along the way, and then more research like Morphem and everything. And there's two variations to this area. Either we head up this way and do some research here with there's already Beautifly and stuff going on, and we can like go way up there to like do Growlithe stuff. But the thing that usually everyone does is down here with Machop. If you don't have enough stun items, you might want to go to Growlithe path. But for Machops, you kind of like just need one stun item and just catch, and that's the best way to go about it. Although the thing that interests me the most here is a Machoke. That is one of the options for the Bandits fight later on in Coastlands. And I just make sure that it's going to land in my party, but in this case, unfortunately, it climbed up the tree. So it's a little hidden, but I've seen where it is, so it's not too bad. That also like determines a bit of research and stuff and so on. And the reason why Machoke is actually really good in this case is the moveset. Everything that you need to know for the moveset is noted on the notes. If you evolve a Machop, you might need to go into moveset editing to add a move. I don't have it in my mind right now, but yeah. This part, I've actually done a separate video to that. I don't know if it's available. If it's available, I will link it. Yep, I have actually done a video to this. There's a few things you need to watch out for this climb. I'm not gonna go into detail on it. It's linked in the description if you wanna look at it. So yeah, it's just this climb is kind of like the main strat here, so I'm gonna skip past it. No stealth race section, because this is where if you then get a Machoke, Vulpix is absolutely the go-to spawn here for better fight strats, because otherwise we will have to use our starter, which might be a little low leveled. Can be a bit of an issue. But in this case I got a Vulpix, which is fantastic. Kind of like dual strat, some research, like do things, multiple things at a time. Although if you get a Growlithe, you can even use Growlithe here, because Fire Fang Growlithe is actually a very powerful move. So If you get a Growlithe, that is even a Vulpix substitute if you really need to, but just make sure grab it from your box sooner than later to get the levels up a little bit earlier, because you can do a bit of party management. And yeah, let's get to the only time that we actually need to pay attention to what we need to answer. Not the first question, but the second question. Here, the second question we need to answer with the second option. Otherwise, we're stuck in a loop of like, thank you, I don't need help. So we need to answer this Firespit Island option to progress in the story. Just keep in mind when you're turboing that you're just paying attention for a moment to get out of this. And then we just walk back. And this is where we could party management, do management if you want. We can do item management too, because with leaf piles, your inventory gets cluttered quite quickly. Just keep that in mind. And from here on out, we're gonna set ourselves on a kind of tight timer. If you struggle a little bit, you can do the spiels before setting evening and then go back, walk back, set evening, and then continue on. If you struggle a little bit with time management, otherwise set it to evening, just do stuff, be quick on it. Use stealth sprays to just run around for free a lot, drive by some Pokemon here and there, and yeah, a few important things to note here. Togepi can spawn multiple times here, which would be necessary to finish it, which is why we stealth up in the first place and try to carry the stealth spray to here. And you see stealth spray just went off, wore off, which is kind of like showing how tight it can be with stealth sprays. Some more Pokemon here that could be early research, like Golduck. And then Chatot is kind of a good research Pokemon too, which can even be in our party if we want to kill Toxicroak using Chatot. If you don't have that, Shadows is pretty much the best option we have. Or Gastrodon, depending on whatever is going on in your party. But Chatot is probably the best option to get that done. We're tight, we're really tight on the timer. So sometimes you might not be able to make the daylight catches. But the important thing is the catch still counts even if the catch is completed at an official nighttime. So if you see, if you start a catch and then you see the day Pokemon, day spawns, which is literally everything here, all birds, start to go away, and then a catch is successful, it's not gonna count as a daylight catch anymore. So at that point, that's a few points you've missed out on. So yeah, essentially we're just delaying a little bit at this point, get some more points, which is unknown. Every unknown Pokemon is an instant catch the moment you hit it with a Pokeball, so you don't need to worry about it. I keep doing that, I'm sorry. I don't know if anything happened for you, but I just double clicked again on the video. And yeah, the moment your ghost Pokemon spawn, that's when the night has started. And I get my Scatterbangs ready, that if you haven't gotten them from a set, you can craft them now. If you've picked up Pop-Pots along the way, with your Cassiferns in the inventory. The thing that you need to know is a Pokemon needs to not be started by anything to be able to be scared. So it needs to just mind its own business, not be focused on anything else. So in this case, after I've scared them, I need to wait a little bit to be able to scare them again. In this case, I got a bit lucky, got an Ultra Ball with a cake. That's a guaranteed catch, so I don't need to worry about it. I can just catch something else. And I'm just making progress here with catching things. I got plenty of these, so I can just catch a lot, do some research. And Dustox is also another Pokemon that is important if you catch it and do research with it later. It's going to be important for your party setup. And then once we have done everything that we needed to do, we just head to Volo here in the story progression. There's two ways to go about it, because I did morph him I didn't go up here. You can kind of like go up here to get to this quest point, but I did more from here because there's some spawns here to get that along. So I went a little bit around, then Nevo to get some research done. And then we have to talk to the house here. So Isken comes out and we can then talk to Isken. And then, yeah, we need to know where our Dusclops is. Usually we're on the last pasture we have interacted with. So if you haven't interacted with the last pasture, you're not going to be there. And just keep in mind how much you've kind of like caught to know where it's going to appear. So yeah, in this case, you see it's also highlighted, so it's easy to find. And this is also your best spot to kind of like look at what have you caught, what did go in. So if you are unsure about actually having done things properly, this is kind of like a good spot to kind of like check. Like say you haven't paid attention to how many dust stocks you caught. In this case, I only caught one, so I'm not going to be finishing it. So I don't need to worry about dust stocks. And this is literally the best way to kind of like check that before you are. Next section. Then I clean up a little bit my inventory and party. And here I just grab what I need. Machoke for the first Pokemon, Shadow for the second. So this is Abomasnow Killer. This is Toxicroak Killer. This is Research for Tentacool. And then the rest is going to be filled with the shallows that we're going to catch next. So if you get a shiny along the way, just cry about it, just move on. But this is the first time we don't really want to catch anything. And then we just go into the cutscene. This is a very long cutscene. Nothing really going on other than story. And then if we had a Dustox, we would be able to use some wild spawns here, like Driftloon, Driftblim. If you manage to backstrike, to use the strong poison powder move for the needed research to get Dustox finished, for example. But otherwise we just carry on until this island here. This is the Shallows area that we wanna catch a few Shallows on. We just do the feeding stuff. And especially if we use cakes, it's guaranteed catches. What we want to look out for is level 33 or higher. These are going to have strong mud bomb. And that is the necessary move that we need to do a bit of a strat in terms of Pokemon move order and which moves are being used and stuff. Because the NPCs would prefer 100% accurate moves. Like these absolutely guaranteed accurate moves like Area Ace or like in this case Dark Pulse, for example, is also never misses. Those moves are going to be prioritized if you are if you have used something like Mud Bomb to lower the accuracy of your enemy, because you've boosted your own evasion. So that's something to keep in mind, and that's something we're going to abuse. But before that, we're going to talk about Tentacool for a moment. This is specific because it's movement related, and if we jump over Tentacool like that, and then dismount, when we throw a Pokeball, we have a good chance of Tentacool not seeing us, noticing us, and we get an unspotted catch. And then when we continue along to the next one, this next one will just look away from us. We are stealth sprayed at this moment, so it's not gonna notice us. And this one, I don't exactly know what it's going to do, but I just do this jump strat. You see, Tentacool is like looking this way, so I don't need to worry about it, and I just do that to do this. There's some more Tentacools out this direction, if you've not been able to do an electric kill yet. Other than that, Finneon can spawn here, which is a bit difficult to catch sometimes with the hitboxes, so don't worry too much about it. If you don't have enough spawns or just too many fails, just ignore it. Other than that, these Tentacool can be overridden by night spawns, like this case, that also didn't want to come out for a moment. And then, yeah, I use electric move to get that research done. Just make sure to backstrike if you're already targeted by other Pokemon, so you're only in battle with the Pokemon you backstriked. And then, yeah, if you need Morphem, on the left side there's Morphem still, and otherwise just head into the cutscene trigger. Don't forget the evolution of your highest level Shadows. I tend to forget that evolution, which is a bit of a sin, because that defeats half the setup, because Shadow's just a bit too weak to deal with the strat that you want to do. And then once you've made it through this little cutscene, the first movement we're going to do is just jump to the left here and try to dismount, land on this, and then we can kind of like work our way up. If we go a little bit more that way, I just ended up too far right here. And these two shaking ores here, that's incredibly lucky. If I was going for Graveler and I needed shaking ores, I'd be in bliss right now, because any shaking ore on this volcano island is always Graveler. Always look at the spawn maps to kind of like figure out what you could do. There's enough resources out there to really like know things about the game. In this case, I'm actually reacting to it at that moment. If you look at the PB, and like that would have been a perfect case for me to finish Graveler, even though I didn't get a heavy Geodude. So that would have been absolutely fine. And we just enter this and we make sure that our lead is Machoke for this. So we can go into here and do the fight strats. In this case, Bullet Punch and then Strong Mark Punch. And before we actually do the final move, actually before I even do the first move, just in case I crit or something, I already go to the next Pokemon that I want to have as a lead for the next fight, because these are all separate fights. It's always going to choose what is currently your focus in the wheel of Pokemon selection here that you have down there. So I do my strat, and then next fight when it starts you see that I throw a Chatot, and that's how that works. Just keep in mind to do that. So yeah, in this case I'm also scared of a crit, so I just move to Gastrodon. I don't need research here on Shadow, I just use Strong Air Cutter because it is 95% accurate. So I just remove all risk of missing, because Strong Star make it 100% accurate, and then that is usually also a kill. So that is a good way to get that done quickly. If I need another Air Cutter, for example, after Agile normal combo, I would just keep Shadow out. Maybe it outspeeds it, maybe it doesn't. But the main strat here is Strong Mud Bomb, which can still miss. But I think it's 95%. And then if you hit, it is a guaranteed kill on Rhydon, which is fantastic. But Gengar, because you are obscured, Gengar will choose Dark Pulse as its move to use. As you can see, it might be a bit faster, so it uses twice, maybe only once, but Gastrodon's special defense is really, really good, so we can really take these hits. And then we just Earth Power, which is always a guaranteed kill. Gengar doesn't really have much defenses on its own. And that is pretty much this fight strat. It's very simple if you just remember to do certain things. And this was a very particularly decent Coastlands from me. More cutscenes. And here you just, like on the free, you enter that with a crouch cancel. Because it's no time to really mount it on. And yeah. Arcanine. What you want to do is dodge to the middle, because Arcanine is scripted if you're in the middle. It's going to jump into the middle, because you just were there. You can immediately leave the middle the moment you were in the middle, so every time it's dashing at you, just dodge towards it, and then you can move towards it with throwing, and just rinse and repeat. And eventually, after it's reached half health, it's going to be scripted to jump into the middle regardless. You see there's kind of like flame aura around it. And that's going to set up fire in the middle, which we can actually just ignore. We can just stand in the fire. And it's going to do the same thing from here on out. Like, we just take the hit. It's just one hit, and then we are on a kind of like a hit cooldown. And that's all fine. Like, we're good to go with that, and then we just continue on and eventually defeat. This one was a particularly good one for me, so very happy about that. I also visibly react to that if you look at my PB. For these you only see game cutout, because that's all you need to focus on. And yeah, when we're back here, I just sort my inventory again, and then deposit everything that is not Gastrodon to be able to prep for Highlands. And then again, rank up and stuff. The usual stuff to end the section. Yeah, first piece of gameplay is when we're here, leaving this. We don't need to turn the camera or anything because our target is right ahead of us. But something that I like to do before doing that, I like to go and buy some resources. In this case, we want black tumblestones and iron chunks. And maybe apricorns if we're a little low on that. So we can craft some leading balls, which is the best ball we can have available at rank 4. Those are going to be our last balls that we're going to craft, so cherish them as you have them. We don't really need much more than that. We don't need any extra balls, which is fantastic. We don't need any other extra things. If we have enough scatterbanks, we don't need that. I got the set, so I don't need to buy any resources for that, which is a nice little time save and money save, even though it doesn't really matter anymore. So yeah, this fight, Leafeon can use Calm Mind, just don't get discouraged by it. Just use Water Pulse or something, just use a move, just get through it. But you want to get hit by Leaf Blade, which is always going to kill. And then continue the story at the training grounds and then leave. And then when you are in Highlands, you want to immediately sleep to evening, because we want Yama research at evening. There's evening time catches for this. And yeah, we can use cakes and stuff to make those catches easier. And just plenty of research, but at this point, there's a few things on my notes that I haven't mentioned yet, and that is I have to look at how many points do I have at the moment, and how many points are needed to get to 8,500. And I've calculated it down by declaring something as kind of like must-have research, even though you can always just make sure that if you miss that, just back up something else. So that's just for me to reduce the amount of targets that I go for to just the bare minimum that I need to leave this area as fast as possible, and this is where you can make up a lot of time on yourself. And another notable thing here, before I leave this cave, in terms of the trigger points, like here, you want to stop already. And if you don't see an animation here or after this, you might get stuck here. It can happen. It's a bit silly. Just don't worry too much about it. I think if Ingo just walks forward fast enough, it's going to unlock you eventually. And here, I want to stand kind of here a bit earlier to be in the idle position. But yeah, when we leave the cave here, these spawns can be Zubat. If it's Zubat, because it's technically still daytime with evening, we can get the points bonus on that Zubat, which is a nice random thing to have. Okay, there's a few easier catches along the way here that are not really research noted, like Standard for example. I got Parasect even, which is a harder catch. And for this fight, we want to have a Gastrodon out to start with. And just hope the Earth Power kills. In this case it does, so perfect. That's fast, and we just continue on with the quest stuff and pick up a few along the way. And if you have had a terrible Highland so far in terms of timing, feel free to unlock this camp and reset the night. Unlocking this camp is very quick. You just speak to this NPC, and then Bronzor is a bit over here. And then once you've done that, the camp is there, and you can go back to the camp and just sleep. Reset the night. Or if your Ingo fight has been a bit terrible in terms of time commitment, like you are stuck with Paradise and doesn't really kill you for some reason, that's also a thing. And then for this fight, you don't need Strong to kill, but it's a research thing for Yanmega, so I just have it written down as Strong Air Slash. And for Tangela, the important thing here is it's always going to use Stun Spore first. I need Ancient Power in this case. I absolutely need Ancient Power in this case to finish Tangela. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to use Ancient Power myself, as that's Mega Research. To just kind of like stall the fight. And get this Ancient Power out on me. Which tends to kill, sometimes not if you have a high enough level and or defenses. And then we just send out Yama or Yanmega. If it's full health and Ancient Power boosts its stats, go for Strong Style to be able to kill it. Otherwise, normal is going to be sufficient even if there's a chance to miss. Don't worry too much about it, it shouldn't hurt too much. And then on Gliscor, something that I personally like to do is use Golduck. Doesn't really matter what you do, just make sure to give it enough hits. If you are lucky like me with a crit here, you're going to just one-shot Gliscor. So something like Strong Water Pulse might be a very good recommendation. I just went for normal Water Pulse here because I thought the level was a bit low and I just don't think I could have done a kill. The only reason why Golduck is even in this party right now is because I didn't catch anything after Yanma or Yanmega, so that's why that was in my party and ready to go, and I was very happy about that crit. So let's get past this and let's go to the main research section in terms of climbing. I wouldn't climb here, go a bit more in this corner to climb. I just went there just because I felt like it. Even though it's a bit more optimal to be a bit more over here, pop a Stealth Spray already and then move. I don't know why go all the way around here just to get to down there. So yeah, I pop a Stealth Spray now so I can get them unspotted here. These are very much guaranteed catches, like 98% if you backstrike. And even the above level cap are like 95 or something. They're very, very reasonable. The Glygars, they have insanely good catch rates. So don't worry about it, just catch a few and then head down. There's an optimal strat in terms of going down. If it's not a deadly height to fall from, like if it's not an insta-kill height to fall from, the worst that can happen is you get to red health. It's gonna scare you with a beep beep beep, like don't worry too much about it. But there's no way to die from if you've already taken a tiny bit of damage but you're not in red. But if it's an actual fatal height to fall from, you will just die. So just make sure to not drop too far down and you should be good to go. Unless you are in red, then any fall damage will kill you. So yeah, here with a Stealth Spray you can move around the best with Scatterbangs. And just continue on with some catches. The only catch that really needs to be paid attention to is Skuntank, because we want to use it for strats later on. If we don't get a Skuntank, there's a Glalie backup you can do, but we ideally don't want to catch anything in Icelands anymore and don't do any research anymore to save a tiny bit of time on not having research pop up. In this case I only got one Skuntank, so I just went for that stun twice, catch one to finish a research eventually. And here Sneasel, just catch whatever you find. 54 is worst possible level, 56 is best possible level. Just catch 2 minimum, 3 is even better. And the other kind of mandatory catch, if you don't get it, there's backups for it. Like if you don't get Haunter, there's a backup using some Sneasel stuff, like Alpha Sneasel. But in this case I got a Haunter, I still have Beancake around. It likes mushroom and beans. And this case, because it's level 53, I'm not quite happy with it. I didn't even catch it, which is even worse. So I need to return back to that to catch it. And I do more research there with like Mischievous Voltorb and stuff. And then I head into this fight. This would be your point to do Ancient Power with Yanmega if you haven't done so. But I already did it, so I don't need to care. In terms of reviving Pokemon, just make sure that your Gastrodon is alive for experience. If it dies against Gliscor, for example, just revive it. Or against Skuntank. That's why I have my revives with me in case that happens. Other than that, don't worry too much about it. It's going to sort itself out. And Skuntank likes to use Flamethrower, maybe not in the rain. But it's certainly the move it's going to prefer because your Pokemon are weak to Flamethrower. And it's research on Skuntank, so that's perfect. And then Earth Power, if it's already killed the first Skuntank, the second Skuntank is also going to be a one hit, so that is also to note. And then for Electrodes, There's a few different things you can do for Electrode. The first thing is you just throw bombs and circle it. Just take a hit early on, try to not get one of your throws interrupted by taking damage. You just circle, just pay attention to where the Voltops drops. You can hear them, you can also sometimes see them. And just circle Electrode here until this Electrode jumps away from this area, which sometimes happens early, sometimes a bit later. I'm not going to skip ahead in this case. We're in for another round here, and then it's gonna do its half HP roar. I'm already at the last quadrant, so I will throw up again as usual. And then it does its jump, and when it does its jump and it's in the middle here, there's a very good chance that it's going to do like kind of like a triangle pattern. As you can see here, there's a Voltop, and below me there's also Voltorb. If you stand in the center of Electrode, these 3 explosions won't hurt you, won't hit you, and I like to be in this position because not only does that not hit you, you're also always instantly going to hit Electrode as soon as possible, because the moment it's leaving your hand, it's already hitting. I'm really a fan of that strat, but do what you prefer. If you like to circle on the outside, go for that. If you like to be in Electrode, go for that. And yeah, now it's just time to clean out the inventory of everything I really don't need. There's not much that I do need in the end. It's just my healing items if things go absolutely wrong, and that's kind of like it. And then, yeah, I reduce my party to just a Sneasel. That's all I need to die quickly in the next mandatory fight. And what I do here is, at this point in the story, you have the Candyman unlocked. Because I have a level 53 Haunter card, I need to buy 8 small candies, so it's level 54 by the time I need it to be level 54. Because we need to master Shadow Ball to be able to kill Breviary in a one-shot consistently. That's why that matters. We buy 8 of them. We should have enough money for it, so don't worry too much about it. And then once we finish that, just cutscenes to go through, and then this mandatory fight is gonna send out Mr. Mime. Actually, I have Croagunk here. I told you to get Sneasel. The thing with Sneasel is you might be able to not get you might be able to get a kill on Mr. Mime. Just be careful about it. Maybe Sword Stance if you've already hit it once and still refuse to use Psychic on you, but in terms of logic, in terms of RNG logic, there's no difference between a Croagunk, a Toxicroak, and Sneasel. The only thing is with a Sneasel, you need 2 in your party anyway. So with that, you already have 1 in your party, and you don't need to grab a second one. And you don't need to grab 2, so it's a little bit of time save. So that's why you should have Sneasel there instead of Croagunk. Like here, I just swap off with Gasaron, and then I pick up my 53 Haunter, and then immediately use candy on it. Doesn't really matter when exactly you use candy. The experience boost for being able to evolve doesn't exist, as it's a trade evo and not a level evo. And yeah, you just kind of like go from space to space here at this point, and there's no more research required. So at this point, you you kind of like go here. I know I glossed a little bit over the movement in Highlands, but you were able to kind of like follow along where I went. It's not that hard to figure out, but like I've already pointed out the things that I could do differently, so that should be good enough. But yeah, Sneasel in the front. In terms of the Sneasel, you wanna use maybe the Sneasel that is the more powerful one. The higher the level, the better it is for a fight later on, where you can possibly one-shot something if you get lucky enough. And then you just close combat, and then you hard switch using a ZR button on the wheel there to get to Haunter and do Dark Pulse for the quickest animation. Since it's a low level Frostlass, it's always going to kill. And then when you go up to this, actually, the movement around that is a bit awkward, so I'm just gonna show it to you. Like, I always have to kind of really walk around it, because otherwise it's just that tiny bit too high to really get across it. Like, look how high that is. I find it a bit annoying, so I have to go a little bit around and then jump up to get here and interact. So yeah, and then next up, after we've done this encounter, we go to the Pearl Settlement. Same as Diamond Settlement, we just want to be there to unlock the warp point. So the moment you see it pop up left here with the location, you see I immediately open up the menu and warp away. And once we're at the camp again, we just go up the wall immediately to the next quest point. Nothing too fancy, and then immediately warp to the settlement and just climb up. There's not much to it. I like to, if we go back here, for the starting movement, there's a little bit of a walkable path that I really like to go on, because I can just run with Wyrdeer up this. This is this kind of like indent part here, up until this spot here. That's where you can run up with Wyrdeer, because the slope's just that nice to you. And then I just jump and start climbing, pressing A. And I like to head towards this part here, because there's no like ledges in between that kind of like stop you for a moment. And then just run from there with Wyrdeer into here. And yeah, this is a no Wyrdeer zone, unfortunately. So we're back to the starting movement with rolls and stuff, as I've explained in Kleavor. For slopes up and steps, use the rolls. And also, if you don't use the expert technique of stopping your sprint just before running out of stamina, and then doing 2 rolls to have full stamina again, just do 3 rolls and you should be good to go. And otherwise, just keep it as tight as possible until the quest points. You have to press A to interact with them. And what I like to do when I'm in this menu is I like to unturbo, because it's easy to accidentally press one of these buttons. But what I still try to do is have B pressed already, so it doesn't count as a new input. And just press A to do all the inputs here, and then yeah, reactivate the turbo for the last text box to just get it out of the way a little quicker, and then rinse and repeat until you are at the next ones. What you need to press, it's all listed in my notes, so don't worry too much about it. I'm not gonna go into detail. Some nice patterns with that, and that's really cool. And this is the only reason, like, if you've seen my inventory, you saw that I had 1 Stealth Spray still left over from Highlands. Here's the reason why I've left it in my inventory. At this point, I'm going to use it because there's an Alpha Gallade around the corner. And sometimes it might do this, which is absolutely worst case. In this case, you're not gonna avoid being spotted and screamed to the ground. Unless you might be a little lucky that might not notice you are on this side of the sideline and just run past you, which is fantastic. I was very, very lucky here, despite that unlucky initial spawn location. It can be kind of anywhere in that kind of like area, so don't worry too much about it. Just try to sneak past it by sprinting past it with a Stealth Spray. And that is pretty much that. For the trigger here, I like to imagine like the 3 as a trigger point. And for this fight, I like to use the lower level Sneasel, which is going to die anyway. Close combat, the Magmortar, which is the most annoying Pokemon, especially with poison gas, wasting a buttload of time. The reason why this is optimal is, like, Electivire might do a move or 2, might miss, doesn't matter too much. This matters a little bit more. Normally, Rhyperior does high horsepower here, kills your Sneasel, and then you switch to Gastrodon, which with strong Earth power, which is why you need to be level 40. You can just one-shot the Rhyperior reliably. And Electivire only has electric moves, so it will not be able to touch you at all. There's no way to get hit by it. It's just gonna be non-effective in every fashion, so You don't need to worry about Electivire at all. And in this case, I was like, I already defeated one. I might as well just defeat the other. You can strong style into Rhyperior, but Electivire normal close combat is a kill regardless. So that is a nice little time save to have had. So there's not any more moves by Electivire. And now the high tower power hits with a crit, which is unnecessary. You have a debuff on defense, so it's always going to kill. And now I use the normal strong style of power of Gastrodon. One thing to note here, if we use strong style mud bomb against the bandits in Coastlands, we are not allowed to use strong style at second time throughout all of Highlands. Otherwise, this attack here, because it's the third time strong style, would generate research, and that would be a time loss. Just keep that in mind if you do the run. That is the important thing, and as you can shortly see, Haunter leveled up to 54 thanks to that fight. That's why we need 8 small candies just to level up in time for Breviary. And Breviary is just an easy one shot with strong Shadow Ball. It's very neat, an easy kill. Unfortunately, I don't really have any backup references because I've never really done a run with a backup team. So I don't really have anything to report to you on that. But if you look at older 80% records, you might be able to see some older strats that didn't do the strats that we do today. So let's go back into like 2022 and you should find some older routing for those runs to see kind of like what is now considered a backup. So yeah, once we've gotten that, just run off and then press A. The important bit here, if we want to lower our height without losing speed, just switch to Wyrdeer in the selection and then press A to remount to get back to Breviary. This is a good way to just drop height without losing your forward speed, because if you press Y to dive down, that is actually just slower. And this is how you kind of like position yourself in the right height to be able to interact with the Eternal Ice. And then another small tech thing is when you go into Breviary, when you are selecting it like this, you're going to be put much higher than when you just jump into mid-air and then press A to mount Breviary. This is also another thing to note. In that case, normally like I would need to spam the dash button to keep the height and kind of keep my speed. But in this case, because I did it correctly, I just can hold the dash button throughout the entire ordeal to get to where I need to go. And it's very comfortable. And here just, you know, just walk past everything. Try to not get a shiny because you don't want to catch a Pokemon. You want to have your final slot always open until you get one of the legendaries. And then for Avalugg, I like to imagine that this as a more chill pace with throwing. Like you see, I don't absolutely max out. I charge them up a little bit to not throw them too fast, because the goal is when there's ice spikes flying your way, you don't want the health to already be at half or lower, because then it's going to be a faster attack that is harder to deal with, and you kind of like just need to dodge through it without having the ability to really attack much. But as you can see, I placed a lot of high throws, so I know that I'm going to hit before this first dodge has to happen. And I just throw and dodge to dodge that, and because it wasn't half health before this attack started, I'm going to have solo attacks, so I can always get a throw out and then dive to dodge to get a lot of hits in. Now the important bit is with this Ice Beam, looks impressive, but if you're already hit by something, you're gonna be on a little bit of a cooldown. So these spikes that just were generated next to us, we can use that to kind of like damage boost through the Ice Beam and to be able to just attack. And then I throw up again, because the later I start hitting the Pokemon, the later it's going to come out of its stunned state that it is in after the Ice Beam, to give us the opportunity that it's not going to do its half HP roar before we finish the fight. And in this case, I have just about won this fight with these strats, and that's kind of like a good beginner way to do Avalugg. I like it. It's very safe, in my opinion. So yeah, that is pretty much it. And because I have not generated any research, if you go back, normally the game is automatically taking you back after finishing the mission. But because there's nothing to report, we get these options. Just don't be confused about it. Just go return to village and everything will continue as normal. You're gonna get to finish your stuff. You don't need to rank up anymore. You're already at the max rank that you need for beating the main story. But yeah, things are gonna go bad. Cutscenes are going to happen. And there's just a few things I need to mention. First thing for this section is don't run too far ahead. Just wait until you see the game, because it is very easy to soft lock because you can run way too far ahead before Siding ever starts to run. Don't soft lock the game like that. Don't be like that. It is very, very easy to do, and then just continue on. I kind of like use this grass patch as a bit of a marker to where to stop. Like, you can stop a little bit earlier. I think it's fine. I'm not entirely sure. But if you kind of like go between these grass patches, that's kind of like a good spot to stop on, to be idle when the next cutscene's starting. Then you just get kicked out, and the moment this fade out happens, you can open the map already, but everything's gonna be black. Just wait until you see the game to then open up the map. And the same here, just wait until you actually see the game after the fade out. So yeah, we go to Grand Prix Arena first, and we immediately start the cutscene for that because we're right where the cutscene will trigger, so that's nice. And then back to Heights Camp. And we can do the same thing with mounting Breviary using this menu here to go as high as possible. And you see this kind of like dash spamming. This helps to keep the height a lot better, because otherwise there's a bit of a more constant rate you're losing the height for. It makes a small difference. It can be useful in certain situations, but you don't need too much height there, and you can kind of like traverse everything with Wyrdeer. It's just kind of like the starting area where you want to go over a little bit of a cliff for a more direct path. But yeah, you go into this Munchlax, and then everything's gonna happen on its own. The Ancient Retreats, kind of like location for this trigger is kind of like at a 7. Just kind of like aim for that. And when you're in the house, just keep in mind that the camera is gonna be a little bit confusing. Just wait a little bit with pressing A. And then here it's quite easy to get stuck in speaking to Volo. I like to do that a lot, so I'll quickly mention that. Because there's not really like, there's no fade. It's a hard cut. If you're not ready for it, you might be able to you might be speaking to Volo for a moment. And because I like to use Dialga as the Pokemon, as the legendary to catch first, I have to speak to Adaman. I don't think it makes too much of a difference, but for Dialga we have better strats, so that's kind of like the go-to for any percent. But you can make Palkia work quite well. The only difference is just safety strats that are simpler. So when we go out, because we were last in the Icelands, and that was the last map movement we've done here, we see our cursor is going to be over Icelands, so just hold A and you'll go where you need to go. And then warp to settlement, and it's essentially the same movement along here. But now, for the climb, there's a bit of a technique with Breviary. You go dive against the wall, you climb into, you press A to get into Sneasler, you jump off, and then you use this again to get into Breviary to get the higher boost. Don't press A. That's going to waste a bit of time. And with that, you just need 2 boosts to pretty much be up here, then switch into Wyrdeer to go along. It's very nice. It's very cool. It's a good strat. And with Skuntank, we can go into here, use strong Night Slash to hopefully get a kill. And for this puzzle, the answer is 60131. If you have a connected like numpad or keyboard or whatever, and it's actually working, on the Switch 2 I cannot get my numpad to work, unfortunately. So I have to import it with a controller, but otherwise you can use that keyboard or numpad to instantly type in the numbers and then hit the enter button to confirm that, which is the fastest way to do it. There's a little meme emote in some of our chats to use around that, which is just 60131 as an emote. It's very funny, very weird looking. But that is pretty much that. That's all you need to do for this trial. It's very simple. And then these camera positions for walking out are always going to be a bit different. Try to not get lost. Try to kind of like get a reference of where you've been looking to know where you need to head to. It's easy for me to get lost, unfortunately, on these. And then if you just spam through this, you're gonna be back at this and be back here. Another thing that I like to do is not pay attention when this ends here, because the fader is quite short, and I like to see it's an antique T thing quite a lot of times, so yeah. And then we go to Fieldlands, just normal camp. We can go to the right from the start here. We can jump over that and then use the same techniques that I've already mentioned. In this case, I think you always need to keep your height using the dash spam, because this is actually quite high, so it's very easy to kind of like land on that. Then again, I can do some other strats. In this case, I actually went swimming. Doesn't matter too much, I think. Probably you should stay in the air though with Bravery and Wyrdeer only to be as fast as possible. And then yeah, next up, Gudra. Get your strongest Sneasel in here. If you have replay buffer still enabled, when you pick up the Sneasels, you're gonna see the attack stats and stuff. With these, you should be able to determine which Sneasels are better for which task. And you want your fastest Sneasel at the lead, because that has the highest chance of outspeeding to get the one-shot. Because Gudra can easily use a move like Shelter or so to prevent getting killed. And in this case, I should be outspeeding it, and then strong close combat is a kill in this case, so I'm gonna skip past and get to what I lovingly call the vibe check. Doesn't matter what you answer, just spam through it, and you are going to win on this trial. It's fantastic, it's lovely. And you see the camera position was different. I was kind of like facing towards the left here, so I just had to do a little turn to run out. And then Mirelands, this is where the diamond settlement comes in. I go to the Mirelands and then walk to the settlement, and then if you walk up to that edge and then use this menu again to go to Bravery, you can easily make it over. It's a cool strat. And then I like to kind of like jump here to get to Wyrdeer immediately again, so the game knows to put me on Wyrdeer next time I want to ride something. But yeah, Overquill, just get a little lucky. That's going to use double edge, not crit. If it crits, just throw anything else at it until it's dead. Don't worry too much about it, just make sure it's eventually dead. But in this case, I got a little lucky. I had a really strong Gastrodon. Overquill damaged itself already, so I killed it. I had really good trials, so that's fantastic. And now we come to this section with Azelf. All we need to make Azelf do is make it teleport 3 times. So that's number 3. And then just don't throw anymore, because after a certain amount of time the cutscene is gonna start anyway, and all we want to do is just avoid being in a kind of like non-idle state with some sort of animation still going to delay the start of the cutscene. And we just rinse and repeat that, and sometimes you might be able to get an early warp out. That is going to count. So when like you go back into here, sometimes it might already warp at that point if it thinks like it was going to get hit. Actually hitting it doesn't work anyway, but if it warps already, that actually counts, and it's a really neat time save to have happen. Otherwise, yeah, again, just the free warps. And eventually, when you do a nod in the talking cutscene, like you have this give up, you struggle in vain. If you have this nod, that is the last time you need to hit it. Before that, I'm gonna go back to it. Like, like if you get this text, just remember where its last position will be. In this case, it was a very good position where it's just directly in front of me, because if it's within your target range, you can immediately target it to then throw a bomb on it. Otherwise, you might need to turn your camera a little bit to get to where it is, because you're gonna face forwards with your camera and everything. So just keep that in mind for the last hit. And then, yeah, red chain is gonna be created. Just cutscene stuff. It's gonna play on its own. And eventually, when you have control again, just walk to the front gate. It's gonna put you in the Highlands. And here now, with Beni, depending on what your Skuntank stats are, again, if you've looked at your stats with the replay buffer, you should be able to find out a few things about how things are gonna go. And if you are lucky enough with a strong enough Skuntank, just go normal Night Slash. Might be even guaranteed to kill, so you don't need to deal with that. Mismagius might do Hypnosis, which absolutely stinks. So just try to get through it. And if you have like a berry dropped from like a haunter that cures sleep, maybe consider keeping it in your inventory for an option like this, where it might be annoying, and then yeah, you won't be able to get through with that. And yeah, from here on out, Sneasel should be able to kill your Skuntank, and then with Gastrodon you just do Earth Power, God of War. Sometimes it might not kill you. If it doesn't kill you, just throw a move at it. And well, actually no, if it doesn't kill you, just hard switch. You have 2 Sneasels, so you can just waste one of them. Because otherwise Gastrodon is gonna just tank it a bit too much, and then yeah, the second Sneasel can go down, it's absolutely fine. Just Shadow Ball the Gallade at the last moment with a strong style, and then you're good to go. Kind of like follow the notes, just keep in mind if God of War doesn't kill your Gastrodon, hard switch to one of your Sneasels, and you should be able to win the fight. But yeah, nothing too crazy going on, just do what the notes say. The only scary part is if it's like, the only scary part might be if it's not hitting the Haunter with high horsepower, which can miss. And then yeah, with the outspeeding stuff, everything is mentioned in the notes. So yeah, in this case, I defeat the Snorlax, which is nice. Then it's gonna send out Clefable. Sometimes Clefable might not kill you. If it's using like Calm Mind or so, then you can already do Poison Jab, maybe even strong style if you need to. But usually you should be able to outspeed it with Sword Stance, Poison Jab. And sometimes Golem might not kill you with its Double Edge. And in that case, you can go just close combat. And if it does kill you with something that doesn't even damage itself, you might need to use strong Earth Power on Gastrodon if it's above 80% HP. But that's also all mentioned on my notes, so that shouldn't be too much of a problem. But yeah, you get 10 Ultra Balls here, so you don't need to carry balls with you. And there's a few things you can do with the catching. If you just throw a ball here, it's what we call YOLO Ball. 20% max as a catch rate. It's like 90% or something. And for this, you also need to worry about what kind of level and strength your Sneasel is. Don't bring 57 or higher, if possible. At that point, only crit can kill with strong close combat. But we need to do that much damage to get the catch rate to 50%. You see like how low the HP gets. That's pretty much 50% catch rate here. If you're fighting against Palkia, the best option you have is strong poison jab to try to poison it, and then maybe strong hypnosis. But that's the only other option you have for that. But this is just, I feel like that's a bit safer. Although Palkia can be a bit more optimal if you get the poison immediately. And if you do this stuff with like the damage and then the strong hypnosis, the catch rate is pretty much almost a guarantee. It's 98%. It can still fail. I'm not gonna say anything. And some crazy stuff might happen. In this case, I got really, really lucky. Because I put it to sleep, it's drowsy and it's like, it has a chance to not move. And it happened twice, as you can see here. That is literally the luckiest thing that can have happened there. So I'm very, very happy that that happened. And then I didn't get the first check, but the second check, and got the catch, luckily. And that is the last catch of the run. From here on out, just cutscenes. Movement, don't take my advice here. Look at what Hakri does. This is kind of like if you are spooked by your red health, just don't do that. Normally you can kind of actually go from here all the way down already. But I'm spooked by red health, so I tend to not do that. I'm a little bit nervous because I'm on PvE pace at that point. So I just took it safe. And with this, you just, whatever legendary you caught is your lead. And the first move they have is Earth Power. So you just hold A. Your toward A button for those. And if it dies, your backup is Gastrodon with Earth Power on Gengar, because Gengar can hypnose you. As you can see, it did to Madara, but Madara didn't care. It's gonna hypnosis Shadow Ball, and then Madara didn't care, it just got through. So that's fantastic. And then all you gotta do is go back to the village. And the only requirement to leave the village is having Pokemon Legendary in your party, which we have because of our party management. And then, yeah, we just have to go to the heights, to the summit camp again, then walk past. I didn't mention it earlier, I'm sorry about it, but it is important every time we run past here. Observe where this Electivire is looking towards and run to where the back is, because it's not going to be able to turn around quickly enough to notice you and scream you down. Like you see, it had its back to here, so I'm walking past here. It noticed me, but it didn't make eye contact. It only heard me. And another one small specific here to note in terms of actually getting into a cutscene. For some reason, if you're dashing into this cutscene with Wyrdeer, the game is not able to dismount you and start a cutscene. So stop dashing, and the game will take care of everything else from there. And yeah, let's get to the final part of the game, of the speedrun. This fight here has a few specifics to note. You need to walk forwards and start some hits, otherwise it's gonna teleport you to it and do a move that is really hard to dodge, really hard to see coming. You just want it to start the meteors and just dodge when it's going to impact. And you know, just carry on. It's gonna happen a total of 4 times until some ground things are going to happen. So yeah, this is number 4. I dodge away from it and then I run into it to damage boost to be able to throw 2. Damage boost again if I would have paid attention, but I got hit by the ground laser thing, so I just dodged over it to do the next hits. If you're really good at this, you can already kill at this point, but I'm not that good, so I have to sit for the cry. Then do some more hits. Options here is, the worst thing that can happen is kind of like an instant meteor that's going to kind of like appear in a flashing way. And then you need to dodge immediately and dodge a second time to be able to dodge the entire attack, and you cannot really throw anything, which sucks. But if you get this line, it's very, very easy to dodge, but in this case, I didn't need to do much more because I was already done with the fight. That is it. That is any percent. That is all you need to know for that. All Lords already finishes after defeating Avalugg, so that is very simple. I hope you learned a lot of things, a lot of very specific things. That is all I know about any percent. By far my weakest category in terms of things I do, so yeah. I hope that was a good rundown, and next rundown is Catch Spiritomb, which is probably going to just focus on wisp movement, and that's kind of like it. So yeah, hope you enjoyed it. As always, check out my other stuff if you want to, and if not, happy speedrunning. Bye bye.